virus outbreak continues to rampage around the world. New video is surfacing from the Hong Kong Tuan Wan Plaza in a very dense residential district in Hong Kong. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this is very reminiscent to the videos that we've seen before. Scary stuff, to say the least, ladies and gentlemen. And now this is being confirmed outside of China. And it looks very much the same. Now, most of the videos that we've seen where people are just, dead on the street, went through this process of basically having a cytokine storm, which looks like, a massive seizure. It's a massive seizure, massive heart attack. It's kind of like anaphylactic shock in a way. But, we've got tons of video like this. We've also got new videos of the roundup that's happening in China. We've got new information about a massive outbreak underway in South Korea and Japan. Again, this footage is fresh off the press, if you will. And we can see quite clearly this drop-dead syndrome appear once again. Now, it had disappeared from China because they arrested all of the journalists, locked down their internet, and we're even seeing footage of radars trying to track down drones. So they're getting hardcore over there in China. But this is some of the latest footage from the Tuan Wan Plaza in Tuan Wan, Hong Kong, a very highly populated area out there. And so it's begun, and we're getting all sorts of insight as far as how widespread this outbreak is in countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, and the like. And it's beyond the metrics at this stage. The next phase, the critical phase of this operation, has begun. The widespread outbreak of this Wuhan supervirus outside of China. Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're seeing new footage of this drop-dead syndrome, very reminiscent to what we've seen before. And it is what it is out there. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got new footage of the roundup, if you will. And these people are just being taken away, if you will. And we've got even more footage if we can. Oh, it looks like the video guy is so fired right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna have to get back to all of that as soon as we can. But let's see, we want to play this new footage of basically them sealing up buildings with people in them. They're just leaving people to die. Of course, they're reporting the numbers are going down. They're burning the bodies. It's much worse than you can possibly imagine. And that's the least we can say about this current situation, ladies and gentlemen. So here's some of the new footage of them sealing up buildings, basically announcing, that your building has been condemned and you cannot escape. And of course, they've issued a full lockdown order in most of these major cities now, where people can't even go out of their homes. Exceptions are being made for the factories, so they're chartering in people from the villages into the factories, like a massive kind of Chernobyl event. They're trying to bury the the core, if you will. But no matter how many bodies they throw at this virus, it's just not going to go away. We're also getting information about
the number of coronavirus cases here in South Korea is now at 87. Today, the country confirmed 36 new cases. For more on this, our Ji-young is on the line with us. So, Ji-young, where are we seeing all these new cases?
Devin, 35 out of the 36 newly confirmed cases were from Daegu and the neighboring Gyeongsangbuk-do province in the southeast of the country.
So they're locking down a major city of 2 million people, Daegu, out there in South Korea, which is like the size of, Chicago. And it's just the beginning of the next phase of this operation, this Agenda 21 Georgia Guidestones liquidation. And people have known about this for years. They always thought that they had, years before, this would actually take place. But it's happening right now. And again, these are some of the videos that we got early on in the outbreak where people are just dropping dead bodies everywhere. And, they tied up all the loose ends and they're just trying to make it look like it's under control. And that's part of the kamikaze attack. They want everybody to lower their shields. We recommend everybody continue to stock up. This is far from over, regardless of what the mainstream news might be reporting. Today, they reported 400 new cases, but they've also said that they've changed their, the way they count cases for the 6th time now. So, nobody believes these numbers. And regardless of what's happening in China right now, this outbreak is now beginning to rear its ugly head all around the world. And we talked about the numbers in America yesterday, and it just doesn't seem to add up. All these cases that are showing up now in South Korea and Japan, it all started by airplane. Nobody walked from China to Japan. And so we can expect pretty much the same thing happening right now in our cities. And thankfully they had this, democratic debate in Las Vegas. All the libtards were there super spreading. So, you can just imagine the worst as far as, what's going on. Of course, Las Vegas would be heavily impacted, being right next to California, Sin City, if you will, and the like. And you can just imagine all the Chinese tourists wanting to go to the Bellagio or something like that. So, wonderful super spreader event. Did you see the debates yesterday? It looked like they were all on crack cocaine. Not sure if Bloomberg brought in, a bowl of cocaine into the green room, but it sure looked that way. And you can feel that they're under, stress over there. We got some more footage of, basically society breaking down in China, people being arrested. And again, this new body in Hong Kong just dropped dead right there in the shopping mall. And we're going to see more and more of this. We talked about, some of the situations, the cases early on in this outbreak, people basically keeling over in the vegetable section. In this video on the left, you got a lady that's basically dropped dead in the vegetable section of the grocery store. Bodies piling up everywhere. This is not the flu. And the way they're, rounding people up here, it looks like, it's mass extermination, mass genocide. And you've got companies like Facebook and Google trying to censor the information. That's becoming their new thing now. And they don't want people to know what's coming their way so that people won't be prepared. And we're asking, everyone out there to start preparing, start getting things that you're going to use anyways. Toilet paper, bottled water, and the like, everything, guns and ammo, booze. You're gonna need it all. According to the official documents, we could be looking at 60 to 90 day quarantines, lockdowns, and it'll go city by city, and it'll just get worse and worse and worse. And so people should start preparing for the last stand. Goons will be showing up. Libtards and white spacesuits will be showing up saying that you've got to come with them. And you're going to have a difficult choice to make. Either you go with them.
The number of corona cases here.
Or you pull the trigger, ladies and gentlemen. So just think of it like that scene from the movie The Matrix when Neo is at the office and he gets that phone delivered. Morpheus comes online, he says, "They're coming for you." What do you mean they're coming for you? They're coming for you. No way, this can't be happening. Oh yes, it is happening. And when the goons come for you, remember these videos, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to have a difficult choice to make. We recommend everybody get a jammer, a radio jammer, and as soon as you flip that on, there's no calls going in or out. invite them in and, take care of the evidence. And you know the rest of the story, ladies and gentlemen. But as far as what's going on right now, this epidemic is hitting a new critical phase. It's starting to expand outside of China. And so people might be breathing a sigh of relief, thinking that the numbers in China are going down. But that was phase 1, the incubation of this pandemic. Phase 2 is about to begin. They've already gone into radio silence. This New World Order has basically issued directives to censor all information at this stage and to talk about sports or other Gladio B events. We saw a Gladio B event in Germany and the like, and we're going to start seeing more and more of these little distractions. Of course, they're going to try and blame, conservatives and the like. But if you pay attention to all these New World Order leaders, from NATO and the like, they all got the devil horns. They all got the mark of the beast. And that's what this system is, a beast system. And they're going to use this medical martial law to try and liquidate as many conservatives as they can, as well as, mandate new vaccines, and as well as getting, your mark of the beast chip to prove that you have your vaccine. We're also learning that, this virus is going to piggyback on cash and on mail, and can last up to 30 days in the environment. So this is a real nasty bug. It disperses like weaponized anthrax. It turns people into like a virus generator, or a virus reactor, a bioreactor. And they're just super spreading without symptoms for weeks before they basically keel over. And we're hearing about cases of quote-unquote reinfection. But what makes more sense here is that these people are relapsing. And the reason why the Chinese are trying to liquidate and exterminate everyone that's suspected of having this virus is because there is no cure, and it will not go away. It'll keep coming back like herpes, ladies and gentlemen. So they can let people go and say, they've recovered. They can, say people have tested negative with their faulty tests. But this thing isn't going away. It's only going to get worse. And watch this story get worse and worse every single day. And, this is no longer kind of like an acute, news story that's here one day, gone the next. This is a chronic situation. It's been nearly a month since the lockdown. And, if 30 days of, total lockdown has helped to curtail, this virus, big surprise. But can you imagine a 30-day lockdown in your city? Can you imagine what that would be like? With the MRAPs rolling down the streets, going house to house, taking your temperature, ladies and gentlemen. And so that's coming. People need to prepare. And that's just going to be, the beginning of the story. If you're just joining us, breaking news, we've got new footage of the drop-dead syndrome in a shopping mall in Hong Kong. This happened at the Sunwan Plaza, a highly dense, highly populated area in Hong Kong. And so, more affirmation, if you will, that people will just drop dead from this virus, like they just got gassed with Zyklon C, not Zyklon B, but Zyklon C for coronavirus. They're going to turn, all of our cities into a giant concentration camp. And it seems like nobody saw it coming, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're not aware of the drop dead syndrome, let us play this clip so that you can see what it looks like. Pretty horrible, to say the least, ladies and gentlemen. And at first people were thinking, this might just be somebody having a seizure. But in fact, this is a cytokine storm. And we're getting more and more information about, what is involved with this weaponized virus that escaped the lab right next door to the Wuhan seafood market. Of course, we've got recent footage, new footage of a quarantine operation in action. They arrive, they announce that your building has been condemned. and they basically lock it down with people inside. No escape. If you don't have food, you don't have water, you're just going to die there. That's the new concentration camp. And then they can say, well, you didn't die from the virus. You died from starvation or perhaps suicide. So very convenient for the numbers, and a very convenient way to contain this outbreak while they dispose of, the evidence, dispose of the body bags. Yesterday we learned that they brought in, 40 new mobile crematoriums on top of, the crematoriums that are already there. It's the custom out there to get cremated. So they've got these huge industrial crematoriums already, plus all of the incinerators for the trash. And they make a lot of trash out there in a city of 10 million people. And that's not enough. They're not collecting the garbage, and, people aren't going to be able to consume as much and throw away as much. And yet those incinerators aren't enough. They got to bring 40 more. Plus we're seeing, satellite footage of burn pits all around the city and all around the country out there. So we're talking about a mass extermination event that's happening right now. And, the mainstream news is pretending like none of this is happening for the most part. And if they do show you images, it's, just a fraction of what's really going on, which is disingenuous to say the least, but it's really kind of setting people up for the extermination at home. And so, we're advising everybody to continue to stock up as much as they can. It's not easy for everyone out there. There's a lot of people that are, living paycheck to paycheck, and there's only so much you can do. But if you can, weather the storm and ride out the first waves, that's going to be a huge advantage, to say the least. But right now, it doesn't look like people are going to have long-term immunity to this virus. It'll keep coming back. And, we're getting reports from doctors on the front line saying people are getting reinfected. And you just have to wonder if people aren't just relapsing. And that's why, they're basically trying to liquidate as many people as they can. What's the problem if people are relapsing? What's the problem if this virus goes dormant like herpes and comes back, 40 days later or something like that? That means you'll never be able to, stop the infections. It'll just keep ramping up. It'll just spark up again. And it's just going to shut down everything long term unless they can start liquidating. And so we're recommending people, begin self-isolation to a certain extent, as much as they can, social distancing, be a germaphobe, don't get this virus, because there's a chance, that this is some kind of airborne AIDS. And once you get it, you'll never unget it. And this thing is spreading so fast that, most people will get dosed by this virus. So it's a very grim situation, but it's exactly what you would expect from a bioweapon that has escaped the lab. And, now even Chinese universities are admitting that this thing has escaped the lab. And we talked about this in previous broadcasts. This has, the fingerprints of HIV in it. And that's usually what happens when labs are making chimera strains, or what they refer to as pseudo viruses. And they always will mix it with HIV. And since this has HIV, since they were using HIV drugs to try and fight this, this came out of a lab. That this is a weapon of mass destruction. And it's meant to work around standard containment. 14-day quarantines aren't going to work. Masks aren't going to work. Checking the temperature aren't going to work. Waiting for symptoms aren't going to work. And you'll never be able to catch up to this virus once it outbreaks. And right now in Japan and South Korea, that outbreak has begun. In numerous cities, people don't even know where the infections are coming from, and we're getting similar reports, all over Southeast Asia. Iran is confirming 2 cases, 2 out of 2 dead. 100% kill rate in Iran. There's probably, a whole lot more, but this thing is much more widespread than people anticipate in general. And when you think about what actually happened at the height of this epidemic in, early to mid-January, planes were flying out of Wuhan to every major city in the world. They're saying 400 cities were directly impacted by this epidemic. Planes just coming in like, like the Diamond Princess, if you will. Hundreds of people on each plane spreading out, and this thing just cycles so fast. It infects, 4 out of 5 people that come into contact with it. That by now this thing must have replicated, so many cycles that we're talking about thousands of cases in every country, including America right now. And, we can see the underreporting by, the CDC and various, other state health authorities with the, with the purpose of trying to maintain order and the stock market and the like. This beast system knows that it's been hacked. This beast system knows that it's just been injected with the super virus and it's about to die. And so they just don't want people to know that they've had it, ladies and gentlemen. So we're asking, all Christians, patriots out there to prepare to take this country back, because by the time this thing is done, there's not going to be much left of these, Sodom and Gomorrites. And it'll be the perfect opportunity to, kind of restore order in our country once and for all. And there'll be plenty of time to talk about, rebuilding, reconstruction. But right now we're in the demolition phase of this beast system. And of course, just a few weeks before all of this kicked off in China, they were, proudly boasting on, world television that they were going to rewrite the Bible. Now, every Christian, when they heard that, and you probably remember hearing that, they were just shaking their heads, just going, wow, just wait for it. And look at them now. And not only that, but they're getting hit with all sorts of plagues. They got the locusts that just ate up all their food. So you thought, this was bad. Wait until, the next winter comes around and the like. But in any case, the latest information that we're getting right now is that pretty much the entire Southeast Asia region is outbreaking right now. Japan, South Korea, they're reporting tons of new cases, not just the Diamond Princess. And of course, most of the test kits that they have are faulty. They're not picking this thing up. This virus was engineered to evade standard PCR testing and to evade the common reagents that are used to show a positive. So you'd think like, they'd be able to detect it. They can't even really detect it. They don't know how many cases there are. That's the big news story. They have no idea. And they've even admitted this, their kits are faulty. And they only sent like 200 kits anyways to all 50 states. So that's about like 4 kits per state on average. And there's like thousands of suspected cases. They just can't test them all. And they don't want to test them all. They don't want the results. And we talked about this yesterday. They've got so many different classifications right now of, suspected cases, cases under investigation, cases in self-isolation, cases in mandatory quarantine. And so, they've got so many different subcategories right now, and they've done that so they don't have to confirm people. They can just leave them in the suspected column until, everything just kind of like blows up, and then they're like, oh, we're so surprised. They're letting these people in. And they let these people in when they were well aware of the situation. And then they're going to come on television and act surprised. Oh, how did this happen? We tried everything we could. We deployed enhanced screening at the airports when the temperature checks don't even work. Their virus kits don't even work. What kind of enhanced screening is it? The pretend kind? That's basically what they've done. We've got, new footage of this drop-dead virus in action. We'll get into that. Here's, another example of this cytokine storm. It looks like, a massive seizure, but they're having a heart attack. They're basically in anaphylactic shock. And all of these videos that you've seen where people have just dropped dead, they went through this before somebody pulled out their camera and smuggled the footage out of China. And so right now, the situation is just beyond imagination. It's like, our worst nightmare come true. to a certain extent. The world will never be the same. Global economies are going to collapse, and you won't even be able to go out anymore without going through checkpoints, wearing a mask, and being worried, or having to worry about testing positive with their faulty tests. And here's another example of the drop-dead syndrome. If we can. So this guy was in a secured, location, right? And that's what these weapons are made for, to infiltrate secured locations. And there's no telling, how many sleeper cells, how many infected people were sent with the explicit mission to go to Washington, D.C., New York, all of the big cities, to infect as many people as they can. We're hearing in South Korea right now, one person was responsible for infecting at least 50 different people. So one person can cause, an insane amount of damage. And you get just one tourist that's, going to Disney World, another tourist that's going to visit, the Capitol building. They don't have to bring guns, missiles, or anything like that. They just got to walk around and talk to people and pretend like, they're not doing anything wrong. So, at this stage, given how this all rolled out, that doctors were trying to blow the whistle, and they went and arrested the doctors. They're silencing all information, arresting people that are just taking videos. Given that they've done everything they could to help this spread, you can't help but presume here that they've done this on purpose. And seeing, this administration basically act like this virus doesn't even exist, that they haven't really done anything to stop this either, it just, it brings back like memories of 9/11. The plane is 20 miles out. The plane is 10 miles out. Do the orders still stand? And of course, this is, perfect timing for this administration in a sense with the whole Epstein case. And, now people aren't talking about Epstein anymore. People aren't wondering, about anything like that. Oh, the video guy is so fired. So fired, ladies and gentlemen. We're live on the ScrewTube, hacking the Matrix, if you will. And, the situation has looked real bad since the get-go. And what else can you say? Here in this latest video in the middle, you can see them actually sealing off a building with people in it. And so all of these other videos that we've shown you where, the buildings are sealed up and the like, if they haven't liquidated the people in there first, they've just sealed them in a tomb. They've just turned these buildings into tombs. And, when this comes into your town, it's going to be real similar. They're going to announce, a general quarantine for the city. Nobody's coming in or out. Then they're going to go, block by block and say, we need to test your temperature. You need to come with us. They're going to start sealing off buildings. And, at first it'll be like, it'll almost seem normal. You'll almost be like, oh, thankfully they're trying to do something to stop this, outbreak. But then you're going to find out that they're going to come by and either liquidate you to a camp, or they're going to seal off your building so that you can't escape. And it'll progress, rather quickly. In Wuhan, in the first days, it was like people could only go out every 2 days to do their shopping. And then that became every 3 days. And then that became once a week. And now they're not allowed to go out at all. And we're starting to see this, in other cities and the like. And once people realize what this virus really is, a bioweapon, you can bet that we'll be seeing the exact same kind of tactics in America. They'll have no choice but to round up everyone that's suspected of having this virus for national security purposes. Now, if you're just joining us, we're getting new video of the drop-dead syndrome in Hong Kong at the Sunwon Plaza, ladies and gentlemen, which is, like a mega mall out there. And, it's begun. The China syndrome has begun over there. Obviously, Hong Kong is just like right next door, but Japan is, is quite a distance away. I mean, you basically have to take a plane out there, and they're reporting a massive outbreak underway. South Korea is reporting a massive outbreak underway in multiple cities. And so, this thing has already spread, far beyond, the major hubs, the places where they would have received a direct flight from Wuhan or Beijing. And so this thing is probably, 2 or 3 cities beyond the major hubs by now. And, we've talked about, how this thing will accumulate in a city. This is basically, a city destroyer. This is a city slayer. And, it spreads quietly. It infects everyone. And then as people turn into bioreactors or virus generators, people are basically getting a bigger and bigger dose. And the higher your dose, the quicker, the symptoms will onset. And so, very disturbing footage, to say the least. The situation is getting worse. And this is really just the beginning of the next phase of the operation. And while China may find ways to, somewhat contain the issue by liquidating, millions of people, I mean, they've got millions to spare. But in Western countries, they're going to be, a little more reticent to lock everything down like in China. And by the time they realize that they have to do it, it's going to be way too late. And so people should be preparing to cut off their cities, from, the outside world if you want to survive. And, more than likely it's going to be your towns and villages. If you live in a city with 10,000 people or more, chances are you've already got the virus in your town right now. And that's how fast this stuff spreads, and it builds up like a time bomb. And forecasts right now are suggesting that it'll still be a couple more weeks before we see the full meltdown in American cities. And so you've only got days to prepare. And the last thing you want to do is to wait for the television to announce that there's 5 cases in the city next door. Because by the time these people go critical, this thing is replicated so far that everybody's been exposed. So, but in any case, once they do announce that there's like 5 new cases and the like, everybody's going to start making a mad dash to the Walmart, to the grocery stores, and there'll be nothing left. It'll be like Black Friday, and people will be fighting each other for toilet paper. And soon the prices will go up for all the simple things. And so do yourself a favor and start stocking up now. Guns, ammo, booze, toilet paper, the necessities, right? As well as anything else you can afford. But at this stage, what they're trying to do is basically get people to bring down their shields and to just basically go back to normal, so that they won't be prepared for the medical martial law that's coming. And our world is about to change rather intensely, and we're still telling people to prepare the best they can. And it's not easy out there. I'm sure everybody wishes that they lived on one of these secluded islands like Epstein or some of these other celebrities and the like, but there's a reason why they're on an island right now. They knew this was coming, and you can bet that all the VIPs right now are positioning themselves to weather this storm, and they don't really care about the sheeple. They don't care about their fans. They're not out there telling you to watch out for the super virus. Instead, they're hunkering down themselves and just leaving you out to dry. But we're trying not to do that. We're trying to let people know. And we would ask, if you can, to support our research, because, this thing isn't going away. And we're pretty much one of the few news outlets that's on the front lines with the latest information. So if you feel like you want to support our research, that you like our show, we've left a link in the video description for our Patreon. become a patron and help us reach more people. We've also talked about some of the scientific research as far as what's effective with coronavirus in general. And coronavirus does not like oxygen. It doesn't like hydrogen peroxide, and it doesn't like oxygen-rich environments like, nature. And so it thrives in carbon-rich environments like the big cities, and in carbon-rich, people, if you will, that drink a lot of soda and junk food and the like. There is no, 100% bulletproof vest when it comes to this virus. The masks aren't going to be 100% effective. And, it's made to go around that. The virons are 0.1 microns in size, and they'll go through, these N95, N99 masks. You basically need, the level 4 gear.
The number of corona
you need the level 4 gear like in the movie Outbreak. And you just have to wonder how long will it be before they start nuking cities
cases
and the like. The video guy is fired. See, we need a new video guy, so that's all the more reason for you guys to help us out on patreon.com/STF News. And if you're watching this on Facebook, check it out. Check out our website, stfnreport.com, for the coordinates to our ScrewTube channel, as well as to our to the latest updates. And you can kind of get an idea where the next show is going to go based on what's happening on the Twitter feed, if you will. So check out our website, stfnreport.com. And, these pages may go dark. The only domain that we actually control is our website. And so if we have to move to a different, YouTube channel or Facebook page, you'll get the latest on our website. So be sure to bookmark stfnreport.com. Any case, early on in this outbreak, we were seeing dead bodies everywhere, just people dropping dead, right there on the streets. Then they rounded up all the journalists, they liquidated all the citizens, and so, that seemed to solve the problem. No more videos in China of people dropping dead and the like. And you're hardly seeing any videos of, people or body bags being extracted anymore. Instead, they're just liquidating people massively. It's a genocide happening right now, and nobody's covering it. And instead of covering it, you've got, Silicon Valley, big tech out there in California trying to cover this up for China. We covered the massive summit at Facebook headquarters with all of the big tech giants and the World Health Organization, the UN, the New World Order, all there coming into agreement on how best to stifle the free flow of information. That's what they're, basically excelling at right now, is censoring people and the like. How un-American can these commies be in California? That's why they're going to get liquidated with this virus. But if you're just joining us, new footage from Hong Kong at the Sunwon Plaza. And we're seeing somebody exhibit the symptoms of this drop-dead virus. And again, we've seen this syndrome before. And it's important to remember that, all of these videos where you saw, dead bodies on the streets, they basically went through this process. And so it looks pretty grim out there. Here's another example. This was the first case that we saw on video. And when when we first saw this, you almost think like, well, maybe she's faking it to get, medical attention and the like. Or maybe she's just having a seizure, but we're actually seeing this as a regular kind of thing. And so if it's not, the drop-dead syndrome, then it's the pneumonia. If it's not that, it's, acute kidney failure. And like, this virus attacks like internal Ebola. And it thrives on, acidic blood as well as low oxygen environments. So, you're going to want to go get some high-grade baking soda, the type that you can just kind of uses salt, not the powder, preferably. But, it's probably as effective. And you want to microdose that as soon as it starts getting, rich in your environment. As soon as, there's a lot of cases coming around. And, we probably recommend something like an eighth or a tenth of a teaspoon, not tablespoon. And drink that with, or have that with lots of water. Preferably not on an empty stomach. It's kind of like chugging salt. So, you really want to microdose. We also recommend, getting hydrogen peroxide and having that be your disinfectant of choice, if you can, as well as white vinegar. Avoid the bleach and the like. That just makes chlorine gas, and it can make the environment worse than what it should be. So white vinegar, hydrogen peroxide, gargle with it, swab with it. You can go up to 10% hydrogen peroxide. You may find the 𝐔𝐃𝐃𝐃𝐃 stuff at 3%, and 3% will work, but you probably want to get the 10%. 10% is safe. Above 10% isn't safe for the most part to use as mouthwash. And you wouldn't want to do that more than once a day. It's kind of like, once you start self-isolation, you're just going out to get groceries or supplies, as soon as you get back, decontaminate. And you're going to have to be thorough about your decontamination process. This thing is going to be on money. It's going to be on the mail. So you're going to have to kind of spray everything down with a mist, and the like, and work on, your process. But decontamination is going to be key. You're going to want gloves. You're going to want masks. You're going to want goggles. This thing is an airborne virus, and it can land in your eye and start infecting you like pink eye. So, if you pay attention to, what the people on the front line are wearing, they've all got the face shields as well as goggles as well as the mask. And that's probably going to be kind of a minimum as things pump up out there. This is an image from South Korea. As you can see, they're not messing around. They're, coming to extract people with the full biosafety level 4 gear, airtight, and the like. So that's basically where you want to be at, or as close as you can. Of course, there is no, silver bullet or, bulletproof vest that will protect you from this virus. You really have to consider virus load as your biggest enemy. And, chances are you're not going to be able to escape exposure, but the higher your dose, the worse it is. And it's just simple math. The more virons that land, in your lungs, the faster that thing will grow. So you want to reduce your viral load, your exposure as much as possible. Avoid crowds, avoid, public, assemblies and the like. Avoid rallies, avoid everything that you can at this stage would be our recommendation, because it's already it's already spreading in America. And, once this begins to crescendo, it's going to be, mass panic. All the stores are going to be emptied, riots, looting, and everybody's going to be infected, especially people on the front line. So at first it might seem like, they're able to cope, but it'll collapse rather quickly. The cops will start getting sick, the paramedics will start getting sick, the hospitals will start, shutting down. And so, an ounce of prevention is worth, 100 pounds of cure here. And of course, we're expecting not only full lockdowns, but, mass liquidation block by block. Once they understand what the Chinese understand about this virus, they'll probably be liquidating people too. And as far as what it looks like right now, it looks like, once people get this virus, they're always going to be a carrier for this virus, and it'll go dormant and it'll come back, and people will never be immune to it, like AIDS. And so this is, a very diabolical weapon, to say the least. And there's not much anybody can do at this stage other than to prepare and see what happens. And knowing what these people are planning is going to give you a huge advantage. Most of the sheep will have no idea what's coming, and you couldn't help them even if you wanted to. It's just like, the death towers, it's just like the GMOs, it's just like the vaccines and the like. You can't help these people even if you wanted to. We highly recommend ditching, anything and everything that emits wireless radiation. And I know that sounds real countercultural right now, but ditch the Wi-Fi, turn it off, make sure it's off, get a meter if you don't have one. We offer meters on our website, stfnreport.com, but you're going to want to double, triple check, because if this is a New World Order operation, you can bet that you're still going to get dosed even in airplane mode. They want you to get dosed, and you're going to want to avoid the death towers. You're going to want to avoid, the smartphones. Go get a dumb phone. A phone that you can take the battery out of, and that way, that's the only way to be sure that it's not transmitting. But the dose that you get with like some kind of handheld device like a phone or a tablet is insane. It's worse than a death tower. Proximity makes all the difference, and you basically create this little kill zone, if you will, with your wireless devices. So we recommend everybody go tethered, wired, 1990s style. It works just fine. We've been working without wireless radiation for quite some time, and it makes a difference. And of course, the studies, prove that wireless radiation destroys white blood cells, and it basically gives you, a type of AIDS, really. That's why the flu just gets worse and worse every year, is because, people are becoming immunosuppressed. So, if you want to survive this outbreak, start ditching the wireless right now and rebuild your immune system as much as you can. Prepare for it. Prepare for impact out there. And, get a mask, get latex gloves, get some more heavy-duty gloves. Latex rips real easy. And so you're going to want latex on the inside, and perhaps, like dishwasher gloves or gardening gloves on the outside. And, prepare, massively with escape plans, with, kits that you can, bury somewhere safe and the like, and kind of anticipate the worst case scenario up to and including the last stand. We recommend people get jammers. We recommend people get all sorts of guns and ammo, first aid kits, stock up on your meds, and the like. Start working out a little bit. And get everything you'll need to entertain yourself during the lockdown, as well as the self-isolation. And it may turn out that we ride this storm out, but it's highly unlikely. At the height of this epidemic, planes were just flying out of China, one after the other, and they're saying 1.5 million potential visitors. And during that time period, so that's quite a few cases, and by now it must be pretty bad. It's just that it's hiding behind the flu. Most flu deaths are pneumonia, anyways. So for the most part, it looks no different than somebody just dying from the flu. But once people realize what this is, it's too late. And of course, their tests don't even really work on this virus. So there you go. Please like and share. Feel free to mirror this content, all of the content that's on our website, or these pages, and feel free to condense them, cut them down, remix them, put them out there. Start a page, Coronavirus News Network or something like that, CNN, and get this information out there to people, and go talk to your neighbors, go talk to people that you like. Get them to prepare. They may not listen to you, but at least you did your part. And we'll just let the rest of the world kind of do what they're gonna do, and we'll just watch and wait, ladies and gentlemen. Secure your positions. Get your gear ready. You're gonna need it. We'll leave it there for this broadcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Much love to everybody out there in the studio audience. Until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.